So Hidde, this episode is all about work smart, play smart, which is the title of your new book. But there are some incredible examples in the book. Tell us a little bit about those.
Yeah, I've done my research and there's stories about the Corps Marines, which is the Dutch Navy SEALs.
Yep.
A dear friend of mine, Armand van Velzen, has an amazing story that I've been able to share in the book. He's definitely one of the examples if you look at working smart.
Yep.
We have a Microsoft executive that used to be a horrifying manager and a little bit overweight, a little bit chubby. And then by starting to work smart, changing one simple thing in his life, he became one of the best managers, I think, in the organization. Even took him up to run or to do an Ironman.
Right.
We have people in here that didn't work really smart and how that ended up in a very bad way. A world famous DJ, Chinese employee from a tech company. But what is most, and one of the most controversial stories maybe is the one of Wolfgang von Braun. He used to be a German boy going into the Nazis and then flying over or getting over to the States and they're working on the first Apollo 11 program, which has been a remarkable event. But he did work smart.
And all of that's in your book.
That's all in.
And this is sold how many copies now in the Netherlands?
We've done 20,000 now.
Which is
currently.
amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
With a big smile on your face. And launching in the UK now.
As of today.
Hi, welcome to another episode of the Leadership Enigma. Well, we are going on and on. We've passed the 100 mark, so that is quite incredible in itself. I'm looking forward to this episode. I've got a great friend and colleague, Hidde de Vries, who's flown in from The Hague to specially be with us to talk about a subject which is incredibly important to all of us and all of those that we lead within our organisations. We know, don't we, that through the pandemic we've had a productive workforce but a completely exhausted workforce, and we're absolutely delighted. It's a real privilege. Hidde's actually launching his book in the UK through the Leadership Enigma. Work smart, play smart, and that is indeed a very apt title to the episode of this week's The Leadership Enigma. Hidde, it's a massive welcome.
Thank you, Adam. Thank you. It's great to be here and great to launch the book here.
It is great. I'm so glad. It's very kind of you because I know you've flown in specially to do this. So that's quite an honour for the podcast as well. Now, before we get to this book and before we get to what I already know about you, because you and I have known each other for a few years now, just tell us a little bit about your journey, because I think that's always important for people to understand. What's the context of what's brought you here to be so passionate about this subject of working smart, playing smart?
Well, it's been quite a journey, actually one of around 12 years now. I used to have my own company in publishing. We were doing magazines in the Netherlands and we also included events and marketing, which went really well up until 2010 when the financial crisis really set foot in the Netherlands. And at that stage, all of a sudden, our partners didn't pay us anymore. We weren't able to pay them or pay our employees anymore. Horrifying year. And the only thing I knew was that at the end of the year, we'd have an event. Philips was our main sponsor. And I knew if we were able to make it till the end, we'd be able to pay off everyone. However, that was a year filled with bailiffs, with lawsuits, with people wanting money, employees nagging about money. And obviously, but we just had to see it through to the end. Now, through that year, we managed to see it through. We were able to kind of pay off everyone to do the event, pay off everyone, except for myself. I was completely down and out on energy. It was not a burnout, but there was not much left. Fortunately, I got saved by the bell. Instead of running along, and as I didn't have a company anymore, I didn't have an income anymore, I didn't have an apartment anymore because I was living with my girlfriend at the time. And as you can imagine, when stress really hits the fan, it's kind of hard to stay in connection. So we broke up. We were living at her place, didn't have an apartment, laying on the couch of a friend's place. And there's another friend calling me that I knew to be very excited and spontaneous and energetic. And I thought, well, he's here to save my day.
Right.
And he was, but in a different way than I imagined. So I pick up the phone and it's, "Hi, it's Barry." I'm like, oh shit, this is going to be a long phone call. Long story short, he started repeating himself. He started crying throughout the telephone, throughout the call. And it turned out he was in a burnout. And the only thing I could think of, whatever is on my path forward, I'm not going down this road. So I hang up, called the travel agency, which you did in 2010
Yeah,
still.
we remember those days.
And then from there on, went on a world trip. And during this trip, I found two things that stood out to me. One, we're all getting more and more busy. And two, we're dealing with it in a less and less efficient way.
Yeah.
And I figured, because there were people in, say, half a year before that, that said, oh, you have to do a mindfulness course, or you have to watch your nutrition. And the only thing I could think of is, that's great, a mindfulness course, but just let me know when I can figure out how to put that in my agenda, because it's 8 weeks, 2 hours a week, I don't have it.
So it's time out of doing what you thought you needed to be doing.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And all the things that I found were actually not that motivating. You had to read a lot or do surveys or whatever. And I figured we need to have something like a program that is actually effective. Obviously, it needs to be fun. Otherwise, we just don't do it. And it needs to be scalable. And so I started working on this recharge concept, in which in 7 days or 5 days, you'd actually combine all the efforts of which we know, all the activities of which we know that they're effective, and combine them in 1 week. So the outcome becomes more stronger.
Okay.
And so you have this exponential result at the end of the week. And I started trying it throughout my holiday, for my world trip. Got back to the Netherlands, started working on it, found out how WordPress works and how online things work.
You can tell me how it works another
It
time.
needed to be scalable. It was a horrible... I wasn't too good in online.
Right.
And so were my funds. So I wasn't going up in online, and my funds were going down, especially as I closed off my company.
The life of an entrepreneur.
So I figured I need to go and work somewhere where they're going to teach me how to do online. Long story short, after 7 conversations with Google, I was allowed, or they had me come over to Dublin. And that's where I started them working for a year. The first year was just Google everything. It was like one big...
And that's where we met, right?
That's where we met, eventually. There was it was just one big overkill of new information and everything. So I had the whole recharge thing aside. And then after a year in Dublin, my manager asked me to join the Amsterdam team. So after a year, I was sent back to Amsterdam. And when I kind of got my bearings, when I found my way around, I found that there was so much work to do, and I wanted to pick up everything, that at the end of the day, I'd come home and be exhausted. And I thought, oh, this is not a great way to...
You were full-time at Google, right?
Full-time, yeah. But at that stage, I found if I want to do more of this, because I'm loving it, but I need to have a different way of working. And all of a sudden, I thought back of the recharge program that I had designed, and I thought, if I use those elements in my work now, this is the perfect trial case, and to see if it works.
It's a perfect experiment.
It's a perfect experiment.
In the land of tech.
Yeah, in the land of tech. So I had my free environment to trial and error.
Yeah.
And it worked. So I was able to do more, maintain my energy, also more focus on the stuff that I really enjoyed doing. And that also helped me literally do things that I liked. So I became a trainer within Google. I started training colleagues all over the world. I'm probably the only one in Google that doesn't really have a thing for clicks. So I was in a bit of a black sheep there. And I also came in because of my recharge. And, so it was an amazing time, learned a lot, but also started picking up my recharge program again. And at a certain stage, I had my own recharge business next to the Google business. And it was just, again, from 8 to 11, and it just didn't work. So I figured, you know what, it's been an amazing ride, but it might be time for me to go back to my recharge stuff. That was 5 years. 5 years in Google, and then I left the golden cage. I closed the golden cage, went right back into
the life of an entrepreneur.
Life of an entrepreneur.
No funds. No time.
No, it was a creative part, but I had to hold up my, I had to take care of myself again. But like you said, there was no funds. I didn't build anything because I always say my colleagues drove Porsches and I had an app. So all my salary went right into my program and my app. So when I left Google, I didn't want to go and get investors on board because I wasn't there yet, I found. So I thought, what is the one thing that I can do, can do as a freelancer? And that was training, become a facilitator, because I've done so much of that in Google. And then I got right into the next golden cage, because at that stage, all of a sudden, I had all these jobs as a facilitator that would pay the bills and have a very careless life, very free living. Until 2019, when I hired my first employee.
Oh, that's when it gets serious.
Yeah, it was my project manager, Eileen, who was a great girl. And the only thing is, I only saw her 4 times in the first month that she started working. Right. And I figured, okay, I need to do a strict decision and only train for my own business and only work on my own business. Okay. So we started out with the Recharge Company officially on the 1st of October 2019. And since then, we've been building on the Recharge program, on our offering. And what we have now within the Recharge Company is, on the one hand side, our Recharge 360 program, which we'll probably tap on a little bit later on as well, and our training boutique, as you like, where we help people with personal development, communication skills, and those. And the thing is that we're offering programs to business. But I had this whole idea around the Recharge program and the science and the research that I've done to get the program where it is now. Yep. I've spoken to many experts in their field and worked together with a lot of them as well. And I figured, you know what, I need to put everything in writing, even though I find it a horrific
we'll come on to that,
project.
Right?
But I thought I really need to put this in writing and make it available, because there's so many simple, beneficial things that everybody can use to their advantage.
Yeah.
And that's when I started working on Work Smart, Play Smart. And it was literally, apologies for this, Faye, who's my girlfriend, I was literally on our holiday and giving way to the jet lag, and then standing up at 4 a.m, typing away on the balcony. And then when Faye and Boot, my son, would wake up, then we'd go to the beach. And this was like every day me typing away. But it worked. And we have now the book here it is in life and in the flesh. And it's been, it's quite
a labor of love.
It is. And I'm very proud to say there's a few things that are especially proud of. That's, first of all, with every book, we have a deal that everybody who buys a book gets a 1 square meter of earth that our partner Earth Today actually saves or helps prevent it from being cut down or whatever. So that's something I'm very proud of. And the second thing is, we've just sold over 20,000 books in the Netherlands.
In the Netherlands alone.
In the Netherlands alone.
How exciting! Yeah. How exciting is that? I have so many questions. Let me start from this, because I've known you now for a number of years. You say we met when we were both doing projects with Google. So this really, the focus of Recharge was born out of the crisis, the financial crisis, when things were very difficult for people, for a whole host of reasons. Where was the passion coming from you in relation to Recharge, well-being, energy? Where was that coming from? Because there's probably a little story there, isn't there, somewhere? But where is that coming from?
Well, the thing is that, like you mentioned, we work hard, and the adagio was always work hard, play hard, right? Yeah. And I went along in that adagio for a very, very long
Work hard, play hard until you've got nothing left.
Until everything is done.
Yeah.
So also in the situation in 2010, I was able to work really hard, for a couple of months to really make sure we were able to host that event. Yeah. And I worked literally my ass off. I had the last 3 weeks before the event was 16 hours a day, 6 days a week. Yeah. And I was exhausted. And I lost everything along the way. And we were able to close the company and break even. But if I would have thought more about it beforehand, it might have even been easier to have called for bankruptcy.
I'm just going to pause you there, because this is, whilst you're telling the story, actually that's pretty profound stuff, because you were working, and as you say, you lost everything. Yeah. You lost your business, you lost your revenue, your income, you lost your flat, and then you were lying on a friend's couch.
Yeah.
So actually, some might say that's quite a fall, or that's quite a lesson in itself. Yeah. Let me just take you back to that time. What kept you going at that time? lying on that sofa, everything's falling to bits, the world is in an economic decline. We'll come back to where we are today. But what kept you going at that moment? What you chatted to Barry, as you say, and he's having a breakdown on the phone at you, and you're just thinking, oh my word, everything is going bonkers around me.
Yeah.
Where's that strength coming from? How are you able to get off that sofa and think, hang on,
I was just not going to let the company go bankrupt. That was and with that, the inability to pay off my staff, my partners, my everything. Eventually, we were able to pay off everyone, and I still do business with a lot of them. Even just that idea of having to give up just wasn't an option.
Okay,
and that's what I'm kind of sense now, and that's what I now with the whole lockdown. Everybody is able to work harder. I've once learned with driving a motorcycle. I've once had through the magazine. I was invited at Ducati in Italy, and they were explaining how you race a motorbike with getting your knee on the asphalt.
I'm a bike rider, and I've never been able to do that. So
it's a very difficult technique. But what they said is you can always go deeper.
With a knee slider.
With a knee slider, yeah. You can always go deeper, and you just have to. So we are able to work extremely hard. But the danger nowadays is that, and we've seen that with the lockdown, is that with the techniques and with the 24/7 economy and with social media and all media, that being said,
non-stop,
we can work ourselves literally to death. I have explanations in here of a DJ that literally worked himself, Avicii, who worked himself to death, a Chinese employee of a Chinese tech firm who literally dropped down at age 23 because we can work so hard nowadays. So, and that's also the thing that I'm passionate about, because I think here's a really, really great lesson that can actually enable people to become a better version of themselves. I know it sounds a bit cliche, but it is literally the way we're working isn't working anymore.
That's really the crux of what the conversation I want to have with you, because as you say, we can work hard. There are some examples incredible that people have worked themselves to death. There are so many phrases, aren't there? As you say, there's work hard, play hard. There's when the going gets tough, the tough get going.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem with that is then you just end up burnt out.
Yeah.
We know as a result of the pandemic that people have been productive and they found new ways of working, but they're utterly exhausted. So things aren't working. And I wonder whether the pandemic has been an opportunity to draw a line under a chapter for us to work smart, play smart, but have a better understanding. One question for you. I know you and I had dinner last night, which was great. Lovely to catch up with a good friend. But we also talked, didn't we? You said the conversations you're having with businesses, it's not just about wellness.
No.
You're actually really talking about people being productive, but happy being productive. Tell me a little bit more about
sustainable performance.
Tell me about that.
My frustration is well-being, or is with well-being, let's put it that way. So I've been working on this for 11, 12 years now.
Yep.
And obviously you have to box it, because otherwise nobody understands what the heck you're doing. So it is in the field of well-being. It's considered to be in the field of well-being. So I've been in the space of well-being, and then people from HR, for example, love it, understand it, want to get it going straight away. However, when it gets to the board or the MT or the management team, it just kills a silent death, because there's no time, there's no budget, and we all understand well-being is very important, but it's still
a bit nebulous for them.
It's a tick in the box. Okay. For most companies, it is. The thing is, the other frustrating thing is that whenever I would come up to someone and they say, "Oh, great, you've got a training agency. So what do you do?" I'm like, "Well, I'm in well-being." "Oh, great. So you bring fruit baskets, or you're a personal trainer, right? Is that the?" And no, it isn't, because well-being is so much broader.
Yeah.
So what we did at a certain stage, because I got really frustrated and I just didn't want to be in that soft spectrum, because it is actually very beneficial for the business.
Yeah. But they needed to understand it.
Yeah. So I went off and went out and started talking to CEOs, CTOs, CFOs, and asked them the simple question: why would you be inclined to set up a well-being program.
Yeah.
And they said three things which kind of stood out to me. The first one, very logical. We want to take sick leave down. We
Right.
want to get sick leave down. But there is, in fact, it's a very hard way of proving a well-being will actually take sick leave down with all the burnouts and anxiety going on. Because obviously, if you're healthy and feeling fit, you can battle disease more or sick leave. But the main thing is you can prove that a well-being program makes your people healthier, but that is not straight directly correlated with the sick leave.
Right.
So that one is kind of off the table, in my opinion. Second thing is employer branding. If we have a well-being program in place, then everybody will love us and join our company. But nowadays, there's a quite nice little video that is going viral on TikTok and now LinkedIn and everything about these two guys with a wig on, and they say, "Oh, we've got this amazing thing for you guys because we know you've worked hard and we're offering you something that is so amazing and you're going to love it." And then they're doing all the guessing. Oh, is it extra holidays? Is it extra salary or whatever? And they're like, no, this is even better. You're getting an online webinar about nutrition. It's amazing. If you can make it, just switch off and do your work. That's also fine. So the whole idea of employer branding and having well-being is kind of, again, a tick in the box.
Right.
But the third thing kind of came to me, and all of a sudden I understood where the whole conversation is going in the wrong way. Because when a CTO, CFO, CEO, what he or she wants to have accomplished with a well-being program is that their employees simply start working smarter, that they make less mistakes, that they take better care of their work-life balance, that they stop delegating work that shouldn't be done in the first place. And all that takes is a clear mind. And then all of a sudden it struck me, the model that I've been using for the last years as the recharge model actually starts off with your mindset. What do you want to achieve? Why is that important to you? And can you do that simpler? Can you do that smarter? Can you do that easier? Because we're making everything hard, literally.
Well,
Then,
we overcomplicate things, don't we? I think that's
we
almost
do,
human nature.
definitely.
We just increase complexity
Yeah.
to try and add value.
Yeah, and that makes work harder. That makes results less. It's. I mean, we've all these new technologies and everything, but if you look at productivity over the years, it hasn't increased that much. Only a couple of percentages. So, and what I found when talking to them, all of a sudden it struck me: if you'd come up to me and tell me or sell me, "Hey, Hidde, I've got a well-being program for you, and it will enable your staff to be more positive and energetic and fit," my first thought literally would be, well, can they go to the gym across the street? Can they? Because if I have to take care of that as a employer, what's going wrong there, right? Shouldn't they be able to kind of do that as well for themselves? And the other thing is that if you come and you offer me a program that will actually help my team work smarter, you don't need to show me the business model, because I'll make it back in a day already. Just if it can prevent me from making one mistake, then it's already, there's your business model. And the one thing that I found is that we can train people to become extremely energetic. We can train them to become extremely healthy. Yeah. But if they take that energy and they start running the wrong way, then it's completely useless. So we need to have that combination of that mindset. If you have that mindset in place, that will actually give you energy. And if you use that energy, and here's your well-being, it's your internal and external energizers, your breathing, your oxygen, your nutrition, your movement, your sleep. That's your well-being. But that well-being needs to have a direction. Okay. So you need to bring that into focus. You need to focus on the things that are important to you, and not just run off in any direction. Okay. And if you do that well, then you get into that stage of flow.
So let me kind of summarize in a way, and then you'll correct me, Hidde. And the well-being is almost the foundation. Yeah. And there are many components for that well-being. But that allows us, that's almost the catalyst for us to then actually be productive and work in a smart way. Because there are lots of people, and we're all guilty of this, aren't we, where we're really busy. But there's that great phrase, isn't it, busy is the new stupid? Mm-hmm. Because if we're just busy, and perhaps we look at people and we always think about, they must be very important because they're just so busy, their calendar is full. But actually, how smart are they being when they work? How productive are they being? Well, they're actually focusing on the things that make the boat go faster, that's actually adding value to it. So in some ways, you're battling, aren't you, in that space where people think that if you're busy, that's great. And if you're fit to be busy, that's fine. Almost there's another tick in the box. But just tell me a little bit more about this could you talk about work smart, play smart, so you understand that there's balance in people's lives? And I've had loads of people, we talk about work-life balance, and a number of people said to me it doesn't exist because it's inextricably linked. If you have a really bad argument with your wife, then that is you then bring that into work. And if you're having a really bad day in the office, then you bring that home because you can't just detach, that old phrase of leave your personal life at the door. And that's madness, isn't it?
It doesn't work that way.
So what is this so work smart, play smart, work-life balance? What is your view on that we are humans and all of these experiences make up who we are? Yeah. Whether you and I are working together in an office or whether you and I are having dinner like we did last night. How does this all work?
Well, I like to refer to the live-life balance instead of the work-life balance.
Okay, live-life balance.
Live-life balance. That. Because just like you said, if I get into an argument with the missus at home.
Yep. Perish the thought, of course.
I will have that in my work.
Yeah.
If I have a lot of stress, and the missus can correlate to that. If I have a lot of stress from work, I'll take that home. So the work-life balance doesn't really work, in my opinion, because it just doesn't exist.
And most people are saying that now to me. This phrase has been used for years, Hidde. Yeah. And now more and more people experience people saying,
well, that's one of the things that we have from the 24/7 economy. Sorry. We have on our phone our email from work. We have on our phone our WhatsApp, and clients actually WhatsApp us. Yeah. There's this twilight zone of where you're able to contact your clients, and it differs per person. And some people are very strict, and some people aren't. Yep. If you look at the whole lockdown, this would be my kitchen table. I'd come from my bed, sit in the kitchen table, open my laptop, and then from there, close my laptop, have dinner with my family. After dinner, go back to my laptop, and then drop. Well, not that, but drop it.
Well, hopefully not.
back in the bed. And the thing is, we don't close off anymore.
Right.
So we're working harder. We're making more
There's no
hours,
boundaries.
But there's no boundaries. And what Work Smart, Play Smart is about is, yes, work hard. There's nothing wrong with working hard. People always laugh at me because I do still make quite long hours. And yeah, I would love... You could call me a workaholic, but it's my own business. So,
sure. Well, it's your passion.
It's my passion.
Yeah.
And but I do take care of myself at the moments that matter. So I might be up until 12 or maybe 1, finishing up a column or finishing up a project or a proposal or anything. And then the next morning, have a bit of a harder day, but then take off at 4 and go to the sauna, to the spa, or go for a run. I love to go run. I live in The Hague, next to the dunes and the beach. Yeah, so I love nothing more.
I'm coming to you next time.
Yeah, we should come there. But I love nothing more than to go for a run, especially when the sun is shining. Okay. And I'll just switch off my phone. And that's the thing. Tech is here to support us, but we're supporting tech.
Well, it's ruining us.
It's ruining us. We're only worried about, I'm missing this phone call. There would be an email, blah, blah, blah. So we're killing our brain, or at least the efficiency of our brain.
Okay.
And that's one of the main ideas behind the book. And it's fairly simple, but we always look for external releases, external things to enhance our effectiveness. But one of the smartest things you can definitely do is with every interaction or every project or anything that you do, stop for a minute. Have a think, is that the smartest thing or solution or way forward that I can do? And then start doing it.
Okay. And
we forget.
So there's so many things again out of this. I mean, what I'm hearing as well is that people have really got us... We heard sometimes the phrase strategically think. So pause and stop and think about what you're doing, because actually are you doing something that either needs doing or could be done by somebody else or is even productive to the task? What you also described is there's a word that organizations are struggling with right now, which is high on the agenda, and that's flexibility. Mm-hmm. What does flexible working look like? What are your thoughts on that? Because maybe the days of 9 till 5, Monday to Friday in the office have gone. Now a lot of people are saying the mindset is all about output. Are you getting the necessary output from people regardless of where they work, the hours they work, the mechanisms they use to work. So flexibility, and I don't know whether you've seen recently that one of the biggest companies, in fact, the biggest company in the world, there's been a massive backlash on a request for people to come to the office.
Yeah.
And so companies are genuinely struggling to work out what flexibility means to the organization and to every single one of the people who makes up that organization, for many hundreds of thousands of people. Any thoughts in relation, this could be the $64 million question, I don't know, but any thoughts in relation to what the hell does flexibility mean anymore?
Well, let me toss that back with another word, and that's trust.
Okay.
And unfortunately, there's been many before me, so that's not the so many million answer anymore. But flexibility only works with trust.
Yeah.
And I've had a lot of talks on on hybrid working and on flexibility. And I was writing already 3 years ago on the free holidays or the unlimited holidays.
Right.
That all only works with trust.
Yeah.
If we work together and I see you, great example, one of my colleagues, he lives in Spain. And if I look in his, Instagram.
Yep.
Actually, my girlfriend looks on his Instagram, which is doubtful. But anyway, but she asked me, well, does he still work for you? I'm like, yeah, why? Well, I only see him on the beach. I'm like, well, that's why he moved there. And she says, well, but aren't you worried that? And I don't care as long as they do the job.
So it's the output. Are you getting the output?
We have to change from a work society from being the micromanagers that we used to be to focusing on the output. So it's the process that we can help people with, but it's the output that counts. And I'd rather have my whole team sit on the beach and deliver great output than having them in the office, to be honest. We don't even have an office. But maybe also for this reason. Now there's two things, because people think now that it's the dream to not have the office anymore and not the necessity to go to the office. Yeah. I'll get back to that in a sec, because we do need to get back into the office. The cultural hub, the creativity, and the younger people learning from older people, but also
that
the
human
senior
proximity, right?
People learning from the young people.
Thank you.
Because what we're forgetting is that the more senior people have their beautiful rooms and their apartments and wherever they can work most efficiently, and they have the peace and quiet and everything. The younger people don't, because usually they have little apartments and
they're starting off in their careers.
But the young people need to learn from the older ones, but the older ones need to learn from the younger ones, because Matt Britton, the VP of Google EMEA, once said, the pace of change today is the slowest pace any of us will experience for the rest of our lives.
Well, can I just say, that's in your book?
It is.
Very kindly.
That was actually the one thing that when he mentioned that we were preparing for leadership training, and he said that to me, and all of a sudden it rang to me like, shit, I'm in the wrong place. And not so much with the conversation with him, but I was in the wrong place, It was time for me to move from Google back to the recharge company.
Let's just give that quote again, because he's actually put it into your book, isn't he? Which is great. So the pace of change today is the slowest pace any of us will experience for the rest of our lives. We'll need to work smarter. That's pretty powerful stuff, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm actually slightly frightened by that as well.
Well, it is, just if you think of it. When I write my columns, I write columns for RTL, which is a big Dutch news agency, or a media agency. Every time when I dive into a subject, when I really get my hands on it, all of a sudden I get this slight depression of where we're moving towards, with the climate, with people getting busier, with more people getting in this little place called Earth, with all and we're doing better than ever before, but there is some really big issues.
Listen, you've got a young son as well now, so how do you reconcile things? How do you, in some ways, feel we could do better? We are going to get this right, or are we literally going to work ourselves into the ground and we're destroying things in the? Well, that's back
to your former question with why are you so passionate about this?
Yep.
I strongly believe, and it doesn't need to be my theory, but I strongly believe if people start working smarter, there'll be more room to actually stop and think of how we're living our lives. That we start playing smarter instead of working our ass off and then going into the pub, having a great time, exhausting ourselves even more, and then doing the same all over again.
Right, rinse and repeat.
Yeah, and if I can make that little bit of a change, then there's more hope for not just my son, but for the whole generations to come. And it's great. I've had this conversation with law firms in the Netherlands, and there's two sides on the table. So we have one law firm, and as their law firms, I won't call out their names, but there's one law firm on the Zuidas, our financial district, and they are now offering the book to all of their 600 employees, and they are saying, listen, you need to work hard when it gets to it, when the heat is on, but then work smart at least and play smart. So here's the book, here's the theory, here's the training.
That's amazing, isn't it? That they've adopted it almost
as
a way of working.
And then there's another law firm who says, it's really nice, but you promote better sleep, and our people need to work. And it's literally, it's like, okay.
That's two ends of one scale, right?
It is, and I know that it is like that. There's still companies, like I mentioned, that say, we do well-being, and it's an online workshop, and you get it once, and you can skip it if you're busy. But yeah, we've said we've stopped offering one-off workshops. I mean, it doesn't really matter if you do it online or live, but we stopped doing one-off workshops because it's.
Okay, so there are so many great nuggets in the book, and I know we'll talk about. It's going to be available in the UK very soon. In fact, hopefully, we're launching it today. We are launching it
on Amazon right
today.
Now.
So I think
order.
it should be on Amazon. This is great. This is the first actually time that the Leadership Enigma is officially launching this wonderful book in the UK from my dear friend Hidde. 20,000 copies already sold in the Netherlands. That's pretty good, right?
It is.
And you're going to sign my copy, aren't you?
I will.
Yeah, you are. Listen. So many great nuggets in here, and I hope people take a look at this because this is important. It really is, because we are all utterly exhausted. And when the pandemic finishes, there'll be something else, and there'll be something else, and something else. And we've seen many instances of that in our lifetime already, of really huge challenges. Thinking of leaders and leadership, whether those are young entrepreneurs, people with small growing businesses, or even global multinationals, which you worked at for many years, which is where we met. What are some of the 2 or 3 key points you think that you would like people to take away from this episode, from your book, really, that leaders need to be mindful of? So what should leaders be mindful of at the moment with this work smart, play smart ideology?
The first thing is that you're dealing with human capital. Literally, if you bring it to the business model, if you look at it, what it is human capital. Businesses are not set up to please people. I just had a conversation with someone about this yesterday. Businesses, in the essence, are not set up to accommodate people.
Okay.
Right? So the fact is that if it's human capital, you want to make the most out of it. And it has a certain burn rate, so to speak, a certain
like a candle.
Yeah. And now a candle doesn't grow up again. However, if you take it as human capital and see it, okay, how can we take care of this human capital and use it to advantage in the best possible way? You need people to be happy, energetic, especially now when human capital is scarce. When there's
the great retention, right? So human capital is walking out the door.
It's literally, and it's for most companies the most expensive asset that they have. So the one thing that you want to do is start looking at it as human capital and see how you can actually grow that in a sustainable way, because you can kind of exhaust it for now and make that next quarterly round, so to speak, make the next numbers, but then you will eventually pay up. You see, in the Netherlands at least, and I'm sure it would be here the same, is that younger people, younger generations are actually leaving the big corporates, leaving the big firms, because they just don't want to keep up with it. They just don't feel that that's the right place. And that whole idea of Mr. being busy and the director that's on the phone all the time, more and more
That's unattractive to them.
is becoming unattractive.
Right. Okay.
And instead, the big idols and the big influencers of these days are actually people that are working thanks to tech as well, but in hoodies, having a coffee somewhere,
On the beach.
relax on the beach. That's the ideal picture. Right. So how can you in your organization put more care and foster that human capital and work with that from that point of view?
Yep.
I think that's a first step.
And that comes back to your point about the seniors have got to learn from the juniors as well
Definitely.
as the juniors from.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I have.
Okay.
I spoke with Hans Heuting, who is the CEO of Randstad Global, just a few days ago, and he is being coached by a lady from, I think she's from Randstad as well, who's 30.
Right.
From his philosophy, I need to learn from young people as well, and I need to expand my thoughts. I need to expand my horizon. And
See, I love that.
I'm not going to learn that in the golf club.
With my friends and beers.
Yeah, that's my addition to it, by the way. But
I've heard some organisations as well, Hidde, have actually got shadow boards, and the shadow boards are from the millennials.
yeah,
So there's a shadow board running shotgun with the main board
Yeah.
because they provide a completely different perspective
Yeah.
from their point of view in relation to what's important to the business and how the business should address certain issues, which I think is brilliant. But
and that would be definitely my second thing as well.
Yeah.
Learn from your people. Learn from the young ones. Learn from the people that are actually sitting with your clients instead of just going, we're doing it this way because this is the proven way and blah, blah. Maybe turn around your whole business. What I loved in Google is that I was there only for 3 months, and there was this sales system set up.
Yeah.
And within the 3 months, they announced a reorg, changing the whole sales system around.
that sounds like
And-
that organisation.
Yeah. And I was just there. I was like, holy shit, I've only been here 3 months, and they turn out the whole way of working and everything.
But they weren't frightened of that, were they? That was the
No.
thing.
They did it. Like in a blink of an eye, it took 1 month.
Yeah.
And obviously, it's built more flexible than other companies, but it's also, we're just going to do it and see how it moves forward. And I understand.
So
And
learn from your people.
yeah,
Okay.
and I respect that it's not possible in every company, and everybody has their excuses. But that flexibility definitely is an important one, and because if you're not offering that flexibility, then the next one won't.
Yeah.
And
the
then
way
there's
they
a
go.
third thing, and that's a simple thing coming from my end, but train your people to work in the new world, in the new way of working.
Tell me what you mean by that.
Well, we've done research before COVID because we were a strong believer in working remote and
Yep.
working hybrid. And what we found then was that a lot of managers were actually terrified of having their staff, their colleagues work from home because they thought they'd be less engaged, they'd
Lose control.
they'd be
Yeah.
doing the wash, the dish, whatever. And they'd lose the connection with the team. Now, after COVID and throughout the lockdown, what turned out is that they were wrong. People are actually working harder. People are even more committed to get the stuff done. The thing is, what they should take into account is that they need to kind of ease their staff down because, like I said, they'll be working too many hours. They'll lose their creativity. They'll lose their actual performance, their impact that they make.
Right.
So you have to teach your managers and you as an employer as well that how do you work in this new way? If you say, oh, listen, Hidde, I'm going for a run in the afternoon,
Yeah.
and then I see you online catching up even late at night, then that should tell me something, and I would need to have that conversation with you saying,
So
"Hey,
being
Adam,
aware of it.
I love that you have that flexibility, but aren't you making too many hours? Or, just literally take that step back. I do, it's called extreme self-defense. I'm not planning on using it, but what I like about it is that you learn how to react to it. I think I've seen too many Steven Seagal's films.
You're showing your age like me now. That's fine.
But what happens in every situation, the first thing you do is you put up your hands and you say, you have to talk with someone. This actually enables you to hold for a second, think,
Yep.
and then act.
Okay.
Instead of when someone comes up to you and wants to hit you in the face, you go, and the whole system, the way our brain works. If you do this, all of a sudden your brain works
Pause,
magically,
reflect.
does much better.
Okay.
So
There's so much to talk about, and I know we've only covered certain things on this conversation. How can people connect with you? learn more, continue the conversation, get you in to help them understand how?
Easiest, LinkedIn.
Tell us.
So Hidde de Vries, I think 32 at LinkedIn. I haven't changed that since I was 32. So it's a very old profile.
Well, only a few years ago, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, but we have the recharge360.com website where we have the Recharge 360 program, and we have the rechargecompany.com website where the company business is. Yeah, that's the best.
Okay, and before you sign my copy of the book, just saying it, my final question is this: out of all of the great leadership advice that you may have received over the years and the organisations you've worked in, or even the advice you've given to others as you've worked, what's that standout piece of advice maybe that's at the front of your thinking that you would offer us as the kind of the most sticky piece of leadership advice you've given or received?
Well, it's the kind of, I think, the adagio that we live by now, and I've even put it on the front of my book, but focus, recharge, repeat. Really focus, then really recharge, and repeat that. Okay. Our brain is like a muscle. We need to train it. We need to go to the gym. I have a lot of focus trainers who say, oh, you have to bring in a focus block of an hour and then focus really hard. But if you're not training it, if you haven't trained it, you'll be completely all over the place, because you need to train your focus, but also you need to train your recharge. So just build in those recharge moments more purposefully throughout the day, because that will just make you a better person.
Gotcha. In fact, that really is probably the key to work smart, play smart. Hidde, you've been an absolute star. Thanks so much for coming here and being part of the Leadership Enigma. I hope you've had fun.
It was great.
Thanks very much, my friend.
Next time in The Hague.
Definitely. Cool. On the beach.